So I have here today a Mark III 2.3 litre DCi Renault Master. This engine and gearbox is in many other different kinds of vans. Now today I'm going to be removing the gearbox and the clutch, and I will show you how you can replace your gearbox and clutch. I won't actually be replacing mine. The main reason I'm doing this is to replace the rear main seal and some of the gearbox seals, which I'm going to do when I've got it out. But that being the case, the process for removing and refitting everything is identical. So let's get into it.
First things first, I didn't video this bit, but I do like to have the van up nice and high. These are 12-ton stands each. They're like tractor stands, really. They're on their lowest setting, but the van is very, very high. Like, for comparison, my arm is touching the floor and I'm like miles away from the bumper. So it'll give us plenty of room to get that gearbox out and maneuver things. The axle nut is a 36. Let's see how tight it is. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that was lucky, wasn't it? Yours may be much harder than that. Mine would have just pushed in if I breathed on it. If you do have to really smack on it, just make sure you try and keep to the middle here. Do not really try and avoid hitting on the outside. If you start mashing up the threads and everything, oh, you could be in for a world of pain. That's why I put the nut back on, just in case if I slipped, it would just hit the side, the front part of this nut where there's no threads. So just be careful with that. Just to give myself a little more wiggle room. Just going to remove these ABS wires here. Down there, so it can come a lot more forward, because we're going to remove this bolt here to get the knuckle out. And then we'll do the same thing on this side here with this brake line. It might be a little tougher to shift. There we go. Time to slip off these bolts. And that is where an impact gun can really save you. If I had to do that by hand, I would have been here for literally 10 minutes just undoing that. Will you come out easily? Just give it a few gentle taps. Yeah, she is coming. You don't want to do that too many times, because you can really mess up the threads. You just want to give it just a quick tap and see if it'll move. Well, that'll be why these bolts are knurled on this side here, which means they have little grooves on the unthreaded part of the shank. So that explains a lot, but that is not a problem. We will punch that out instead then. There we go. All of a sudden she went. See this little knurled part here? So I assume that once you tap this in, this is basically to stop the bolt from spinning as easily. Gives it a little bit of extra tension. There was a little bit of corrosion in the middle, but nothing really bad. I think it was just this knurled part here that was holding on. It's just slightly thicker than the rest of the bolt. So that's fine. So maybe it would just be better to whip the nut off and then punch this part here out. Okay. Let's whip it. There we go, other side spinning. Whoops. There we go. probably as much as I would dare do before I put the nut back on. Do that too many times and you damage the threads, and then you'll be in a world of trouble. You can see I haven't damaged them because the nut goes all the way back on. Do not damage the threads. One broken bolt can completely ruin your life momentarily. Not forever, just for a bit. Hot diggity dang. That is toit. Toit like a toiger. Yeah, it is just that end bit. Once you get this bit here free, the rest of it seems to want to just, look at that, just punches out no problem. So it's that little nailed bit that makes it hard to remove. Whew, well at least you know it's not going to come undone when you're driving along in a big old van. There we go. Be released. Can we compress the joints enough to get this out without removing anything else? I do believe we can. Well, that is good news. So no need to pop loose any ball joints or tie rods. You just need to remove these two bolts here and then you can get the shaft out. There's an intermediate carrier just in here, so we'll deal with that next. But probably first we should drain out the gearbox oil so we don't lose any. So the drain plug is here and it takes a little square drive socket like that. However, somebody has rounded mine out, so we're going to have to use guerrilla tactics. And then let's give this a little shot. There we go. Straight undone. So we'll get a little drain pan now to catch all this oil. Well, I strongly encourage you to throw this oil away. However, if you are poor, you can reuse it if it's in good condition. Obviously, if it looks all metallic and shiny, no, don't do it. See, this oil looks fine, nice and clean. You could reuse this. I am just going to fill it up from scratch because I've been losing oil through the shaft seals for a while now, so I'm not sure how much is in here. So I'm just going to fill it up with fresh oil and make sure I've got the correct level. There we go, nice and tight. And that's that. Just need to remove that little 13mm there. It's like a little clamp, holds the drive shaft in. It's got a pin on this side here, you can see the pin just there. Flicks down. Happy days. That, my friends, is that. It's also worth, just to stop any of this getting like pulled around or damaged or anything, I just put this bolt back in loose now that we've got the drive shaft out. if yours are as tough as mine, get that brake pedal on the floor. If you've already jacked it up, it might actually be a better idea to loosen yours when it's on the ground, so you got the weight of the vehicle helping you. But I'm definitely not going to drop mine to the ground now because I've got a wheel off, so we shall persist. That was ridiculous. Oh, that bolt did not move at all. Interesting. And neither did that one. So this is different from the other side, where the bolt started spinning. These ones have not. Let's give them a little love tap. See what happens. Yeah, it moves. Yeah, they both move. Okay, that's fine. We are not going to have any problems on this side, and that is good. Put that back on, make sure we don't damage any threads, and we will also pull that ABS wire out. Get that moving freely so we don't pinch it in something. There's a brake pad wear sensor on this side as well, which obviously somebody has cut. Don't understand why people do that. Maybe you're one of the people that does do that. I'm not judging, just I wouldn't do it myself, personally. There we go. And then that little brake line. There we go, that little tapometer. Very good, everything's loose. Then we can tap these out. One. Come on. There we go. Before we tap these all the way out, we're going to want to break loose our axle nut, that's for sure. One of the ways I know this was done by a complete amateur or just a generally terrible mechanic is the way that you can see where it was staked in before, just here. Same on the other side, it's not been staked in. These little detents here in the end of the shaft are so once you've torqued it down so that you get the correct preload on the bearing, you stake these in, which basically means you get a chisel and you hammer on it till this piece of metal here bends inside the shaft so that it cannot come undone. The fact that that hasn't been undone is very bad. But it does mean it should come undone easier. I'm also pretty sure that these are not as tight as they're supposed to be, but who cares? Let's see if this one here wants to play ball as easily as the other side. It does. I can't believe this. Honestly, sometimes these things here can be so bad. Look at that, I can literally just push it by hand. Happy days. There we go. Very good. So what you want to do on this side here is just lift it up above the brake line. Don't pull it out of the gearbox below the brake line because it won't come out. It'll just hit the back of the hub and the shaft will basically rip the brake line off. And then you can just give it a tug. And she's out. So, same as on the other side, I'm just going to temporarily put this bolt here back in just to hold everything and stop any of these lines from, you know, getting broken or pulled or whatever. So just while we're here, I can see we're definitely going to have to remove this earthing strap from the gearbox, which is part of the electrical system, and we're also going to have to remove this air conditioning pipe here. That's the high and low side here, which is held on with a few nuts, so we'll get those off. So this is a 13mm. Oof. Sorry guys. Tight on space in here. There we go. Stick that bolt back in there so we don't forget where it came from. Get this air conditioning pipe out of the way. I'll leave that just there on the top so it doesn't fall off. The last couple of threads by hand, right, so that one there should be loose. It's still held on in a couple of places, so we'll do that next. Remove this middle bracket, which is an 8mm. There we go, a little bit of movement. This is the kind of thing that drives me mad. So we had a 10mm, then an 8mm. Is this one here another 10mm nut? No, it's a 13. Why not just have all the same sizes? Oh, lost the washer, don't lose that. So these are still, they're loose now, and they do have a fair bit of movement, but they are kind of still in the way. So I think when we do drop the engine down, when we drop this mounting, which is just here for the gearbox, we'll support the engine, but as we lower it down, I think we're going to have to watch that we don't pinch this underneath the gearbox and rip it or anything. So I think we're going to have a little bit of trouble. There's like a little 18mm bolt just underneath this loom, which is very, very tricky to undo. So we're just going to try and undo the upper part of the engine mount and hope that that's all it takes. I knew this was going to happen. Let's try that again with less extension. Let's see what happens. Straight out. That's 1, 2, and let's go for magic number 3, which I can't reach. There we go. Those engine mount bolts undone. Pull them out. One of them fell on the floor. It's the middle one there. Don't get these confused. They are different. The middle one has a washer. The outside two don't. So let's remove these bottom 2 engine mount bolts from the gearbox side. There we go. I'm just going to remove these engine mount bolts here. bit tight. I'm sorry about the dodgy camera work. So that's those two there. So there's one there and obviously one there. And now there's one up the top as well. So once you drop the engine a little bit, you should be able to get out this 18mm here just fine. So these bolts here are for the gear linkage, and we've got one more to go, just here. Both in the 10mm. And there we go. There we go, that's one. And once you get that undone, there is a little clip at the back. Can we see it? That is the question. Let's see what we can do here, shall we? So there is a little clip just here by my thumb. So you push that clip there in, and then you can lift the whole thing up. Now, if that didn't make sense, you can see it more clearly down here. There's a little clip here. Let's just let that focus for a second. There's a little clip here that you can push in. See, I'm pushing it. And then you can lift the linkage up. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'll leave that one connected until I've popped it loose from here, then I will loosen it. There we go. Give that a little tap to get it off of this little, it's like a little rose and ball joint. So this is obviously like a little circular piece here, a little ball joint on the end of this bit here you can't see from where the camera is, and we just move slightly over to here. You may be able to see that there's a little tab here on the back. See that bit just there? So you push that in and then lift it up. Whole linkage comes out. Very easy. Very, very easy indeed. And then, there must be another bolt holding this bit here in or something, but it might be able just to stay on the gearbox for now. I'm not 100% sure. I have a good look from the top. Let's get this plug undone. There we go. Very easy on the camera, isn't it, in the way? Well, I did pop the clip out, but it was so fast when it happened that it didn't show up on video, so hard for me to show that again. Try and get that up there. So I've just popped this up here, just underneath the wiring loom here at the top. It just basically means it's above the brake fluid reservoir over there, and it just means that nothing's going to drip out of it, so it will just make it easier when we come to bleed it. Move that right out of the way. Little 10mm just here. So you can see this bolt here. It's a 10mm. That also releases the bracket. The main reason that I'm trying to remove this bracket here is there are a lot of pipes that are connected to it, as you can see here, and I'm just a little bit concerned that the bleeder screw for the slave cylinder on the gearbox is going to contact it, and because it is made of plastic I'm concerned they might snap off. So what I'm trying to do is pull all of this way, like that. This part here is loose already, the bit above isn't quite loose yet. So I'm just kind of hoping if I can just pull it a little bit, that's like this way toward the front of the car, that it's going to help me to get the gearbox out without breaking anything. So this is what I was hoping to achieve. You can see here that if I drop the gearbox down, the bleeder here for the slave cylinder is going to contact this hose, which is why I removed this bracket so that I can push it back like that. So I can push it right back out of the way, and then I can also move these lower hoses here. One of them is a coolant hose, one of them is a boost pipe hose. I can move those out of the way like that, and then I can drop the gearbox without snapping anything off or worrying that I'm going to break something expensive. And there's two broken loose. Let's just see if we can get a pry bar in here on one of these notches and just lever this bit here back. Moving this engine mount is a pain in my backside. There we go. Stupid thing. Well, that was a pain in the backside. So that's out now. And now we can move on with dropping the engine. So we've got a few 13s around this side of the bell housing. Start them at a bolt, I think, here. There we go. Grab that one there out of there. There we go. This holds in a load of plastic rubbish. And by plastic rubbish I mean crucially and vitally important things to the engine, like the loom and coolant hoses. Don't think that these are unimportant. Whoever did this before I am doing it thought this was unimportant to put this back in the right place. And as a result, I've wound up with about 15 coolant leaks, and that is literally not an exaggeration. In fact, I can prove it to you. I've had to splice coolant hoses all over the place here with just bits of hose and just bodging it. It will fix it properly, but sometimes you just gotta get things back on the road. But honestly, anything that you take off, just make sure that you put it back, because you just don't know if it's going to cause you headaches in the long run, like something isn't quite where it should be and then all the hoses rub through, and then you've done your clutch 6 months ago and then suddenly you break down on the side of the road. But if you make sure you put it all back properly the first time, you won't break down. And also, hopefully you don't cut yourself like I have, like here and here. Dear oh dear, clutches. So there's a couple of gearbox bolts here. I'm gonna remove. And then one a little further up, just here. So we don't have to remove these completely, we can just sort of leave them in there loose. And that's fine, it just means we won't have to remember quite where so many bolts go. So there's a few little 13mm bolts here at the top of the bell housing. That is number one. We've got a second one just in here. This one here is a nut. There we go. And then we've got this one over here. There we go. So we can't both be under there for this bit, but what we need to do is just push the gearbox away from the engine at this point. So I think there's a couple of bolts here. I think I've got one just here and then one just up there, and I think I need to get this little bracket off here to see one last gearbox bolt. So I think once I get that bracket off, I'll be able to see the last remaining gearbox bolt. Yes, there's one more bolt just up here, just behind the sensor where that bracket was. So we'll just get this one last 13 out, and then finally the gearbox should actually come away. Okay, right, the gearbox is definitely off. So we've definitely separated all the way around. What I am going to do before I drop this is just put another jack underneath here. I do have two different jacks, so I'm going to drop my second jack underneath here so I don't drop the thing on the floor. So I've got that supported now on a jack, and now I'm just going to carry on slowly pushing this bit here off. Catch that on the other side of the flywheel and stuff. So just keep going around like this, and just kind of getting the pry bar on the inside there, just giving it a little push, and we'll just keep going all the way around till we get the gearbox off. And then all you need to do is just lower things on the jack, and then you can kind of drag it out. These gearboxes are quite heavy, not super heavy, but quite heavy. And that's it. You have successfully removed the gearbox from a 2.3 litre DCi Renault Master.